are equivalent fractions? Well, first let's think about a fraction, right? We have two parts compared. A fraction bar is also like division. And equivalent simply means equal. So we're talking about fractions that have equal values. So if we have 1/2 is a reduced fraction, but what is an equivalent fraction? Well, it could be 2/4, it could be 3/6, it could be 4/8, it could be 5/10. All of these are equivalent because they all mean the same, 1/2, right? The top is exactly half of the value of the bottom. Now, if we are given, in this case, we have a little proportion here, where we have two ratios set equal to each other, and we want them to be equivalent. So look at this. On the left, we have the fraction 2/3, and on the right, we have a fraction with a denominator of 15. Well, think about it this way. If I go from 3 to 15, how did I get there? Well, if I multiply by 5, right? Think multiplication. 3 times 5 gives me 15. Well, if I would take 2 times 5, that would give me 10. So I know that 2/3 is the same as 10 over 15. And that makes sense because if you look at 10/15 and you divide the top and the bottom by 5, you get 2/3. So it's almost like we are unreducing the fraction or the ratio. Okay, so same idea here. We have the ratio of 6 over 11, and we want to rewrite that with a denominator of 55. Now, the reason this is important is because when you add and subtract fractions, you have to have the same denominator. And so we're going to have to create equivalent fractions in order to be able to add and subtract fractions as we move through. So when you think again, from 11 to 55, how do I get there? Well, I must have really liked 5 when I created this because I multiply by 5. And then math is about equality. So we're going to multiply by 5 in the numerator as well. Whatever you do to the denominator, you're going to do to the numerator. And 6 times 5 is 30. So our equivalent would be 6/11 is the same as 30 over 55. And that is the idea of equivalent fractions. But one other thing is that if I would say, what if we have 8 over 30 equals blank over 6? It works the same way that you would say, well, how do I get from 30 to 6? Well, I divide by 5, okay? So in the numerator, I would divide by 5. So if I would take 8 divided by 5, well, 5 goes into 8 one time. I would get 30, and then since there's no other numbers, I add a decimal point, bring it down, and I get 6. So the equivalent fraction would be 1.6 over 6. And maybe that's not great because it's a decimal, but the idea is whether you're multiplying or dividing, you can create equivalent fractions either way.